Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Bible FIFA on FIFA 23. Here's a reminder of the team on screen, and here's what we came up against. A little bit cheesed off seeing this team, I can't lie. A load of lonely players, team of the years, icons, etc. For his few games that he has with me, he decided to slap them all in the same team against me. And typically, Kevin De Bruyne sprinting through, banged one in for 1-0 with the sort of pace that the normal Kevin De Bruyne wouldn't have had. But anyway, I'll remove the saltiness as I bounce back, Berber spin into Crouch with the acrobatics for 1-1 in the 16th minute. Then into the second half, I get a corner, Peter Crouch bicycle kick into the back of the net for 2-1. Look at this angle, the 6'7" lank, miles in the air to reach the ball for the bicycle kick. In real life-esque, to be fair, the man did pull off acrobatics like that in real life in his career. So then it's 2-1. And then after a brilliant tackle in the box, the guy fouls me off the ball with Beckham to give me a penalty. Take it with David Button, true to form, the keeper, and I miss another penalty with David Button. This time I took it right, but the keeper saved. However, I did get a third goal, another bicycle kick acrobatics with Peter Crouch. I think that was from the resulting corner, but I'm not 100% sure. So that was 3-1. I then play a 1-2 with Hermoso, the defender, a bit of skill, play him in, and he bangs it in, the centre-back, on the left foot on the volley. I thought that was a screamer in the top bins. Looking at the reverse angle, it's basically down the middle. But it was enough to find the back of the net. So that was 4-1. And then right at the death, I could have punished the guy for 5-1. A lovely bit of skill of Cunha, rinsing the defence, but I banged it into the post, and then Crouch couldn't put it on the follow-up. As a side note, again, the commentator did a classic, and the ball has petered out when Peter Crouch lost the ball, but I lost the clip, unfortunately. So they're loving that phrase at the moment. And then right at the very end, I nearly scored a hat-trick of bicycle kicks for Peter Crouch, but he put it wide. But it didn't take away from the fact he got his hat-trick in the game, a 4-1 win. I finally get a win on the board on the series. And there are a few options there for the Bible passage, which we will head into now.
Okay, so into the Bible passage, and we're going to go with the goal that we scored with Peter Crouch in the 16th minute and read from 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 16 to make the goal time relevant to the Bible passage. And this is what is said in that passage. It says, "For we did not follow cleverly devised stories when we told you about the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ in power, but we were eyewitnesses of his majesty." Now Peter here is clearly saying, look guys, I'm writing this not from a place of trying to sort of fabricate some kind of clever story about Jesus and what he's kind of gone on to do and what he's claimed to do, in a way that sort of seems to add up. He's saying, this is genuinely what I've seen and what I've experienced, and I'm telling you about how it all adds up with the many prophecies about Jesus that were written before Jesus arrived on earth in the Old Testament. So Jesus fulfilled over 300 prophecies that were written about him in the Old Testament. And some of those of which he couldn't even control, such as his place of birth. That's nothing he could even have control over. He couldn't fabricate it, look at the Old Testament and go, ride on a donkey. Some of those, yeah, fair enough, at certain situations, certain times, could have fabricated, but not all of the 300. A lot of them were completely out of his control. And, Peter's saying, look, guys, this guy Jesus has done all of these prophecies. He's fulfilled all of these prophecies, like I said, a lot of which he couldn't even have any control over. This is the guy that the Old Testament has been pointing towards. This is the guy that we've been waiting for. I'm not trying to cleverly sort of deceive you in saying that this is what's happened. This is genuinely what I've seen, and this has happened, and this is what Jesus fulfilled. And basically, you guys need to hear this. You guys need to believe this. This is so important. This is life-changingly important. And I love this verse because Peter, it's clear to see he's just an ordinary guy like you and me. He's just a guy that's telling people what he's seen, and he's not trying to, do it for any sort of ulterior motive. He's just like, this is what I've seen, and this is what you guys need to know because it's true, and Jesus is real and has died, for you, etc. And the other thing is, there was no incentive for Peter to have to sort of make up a fabricated story about Jesus, like Jesus' disciples and Peter, and they knew full well that they were going to be killed and hated for their faith in Jesus. The Romans were out to get them. Why would you cleverly devise some kind of account about Jesus if you knew it was a load of rubbish. Like, you'd only put your neck on the line and nail your colours to the mast and tell people and spread the gospel about Jesus if you knew it was real, because then it's worth dying for, it's worth being hated for. Otherwise, you're like, as soon as a Roman comes to you with a sword, you're like, okay, hands up, it's a load of rubbish, I've made it all up. Why would you go to your death sort of preaching something that is a load of rubbish? It just doesn't make any sense. And this is kind of, again, what Peter's saying in this passage, guys. This has happened, this is real. I'm just saying what I've seen. And if you read the Gospels in the New Testament, all of the New Testament writers, they're just saying what they saw. They all have individual eyewitness accounts of what Jesus, did and said while on earth. And it's just amazing. He fulfilled completely over 300 prophecies written in the Old Testament about him, in a way that, like I said, some of them he couldn't even try and fulfill. They just happened. And it's like, these guys are just saying, look, what more evidence do you guys need? This is true, this is real, this has happened. And The Case for Christ, which I plugged last week, which is a film and a book, talks about a lot of these kind of evidences that help to increase the validity of the Bible and the prophecies about Jesus, and actually, the weight that is behind the Bible and what's taught in the Bible about the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus. Off the back of the many prophecies that were written about him in the Old Testament, pointing people to the truth of him coming. And when I do these videos, it's equally coming from this place of, look, I've experienced enough of kind of God in my life and answered prayers and things to be absolutely convinced. Like, I've got no doubt in my mind that Jesus is real, that he's died on the cross, risen from the dead, that there's a living God that is healing today, that is doing miracles today, that is helping people today, that is answering prayers today, that is saving people today, and redeeming lives and transforming lives that are broken. And like, I do these videos to share the hope of that in an absolute conviction. Like, this is true, and I know it can sound wacky to some people, and I know that a Bible FIFA series can seem nuts, but like, I wouldn't do this if I wasn't absolutely convinced it was real, and like, wanted you guys to sort of know it. And with an importance of, you guys need to know this, because it's life-changing, and it's eternally critical that you guys take this seriously and at least spend some time to look into it, rather than just sacking it off because it's not cool, or because you just assume, like, oh, science has disproved God or whatever. Like, actually, science doesn't disprove God, on that point. The Bible and science can work perfectly together. The more I find out about science, the more I go, oh, that's, how that helps to explain that in the Bible, as opposed to, it completely contradicts. Like, there's lots of things and sort of misperceptions that people have about Christianity that, they're not true, and there's a lot of weight behind it. And things, like the Crusades and stuff that have happened over the years, genuine Christians would say, no, that should never have happened. And anything that's kind of held you back from Christianity, I want to encourage you, like, please park to one side, because a lot of that is nonsense, and you're right to be annoyed about it. Spend some time investigating the Christian faith, reading books or watching films like The Case for Christ, and ask God cheeky prayers like, please God, help me to know, that you're real, if you are real, because it is life-changing, and I've experienced that life-changing God in my life. And I like Peter did in this passage, I want to tell you guys, like, he's real, he loves you. Please spend some time exploring, please spend some time asking God to reveal himself to you if you don't know God already. And that'll be my encouragement and my sort of plea for you almost for today's passage. And I'll catch you when I get round to doing the next one, in between looking after our beautiful baby daughter and work and everything else. Cheers.